As an artist, every piece Louie Gong creates reflects who he is: Indigenous, Chinese, and white, mixed race.
Having the last name Gong has been a really significant factor in how my identity has developed. Because although I'm half white, there was never hiding from the fact that I'm Asian, even though I grew up in my tribal community.
His identity drove his decision to create 8th Generation, the first Native-owned company to design 100% Indigenous products. 10 years ago, 8th Generation caught the eye of an unexpected customer,
Line to Northgate Station.
Sound Transit. In 2014, the light rail leadership asked Gong to take creative control of the art inside the future Bellevue station. Gong said yes and decided to embrace the opportunity to honor the mixed-race experience.
I had to design each piece to go in and around all the different obstacles,
which includes navigating the ignorance of systemic racism.
I would sometimes get teased for having the last name Gong, and then I would go home to the tribal community, and sometimes people would say, well, you don't look Asian. Then I would go to the almost all-white public school, and people would say, what are you?
For a while, Gong says he thought he was the one with the problem.
And what I realize now is that it wasn't me who had the deficit. It was my community, sometimes even my own family, because they didn't have the basic information for talking about race and identity or the frameworks for sharing it with the next generation.
Today, there's more exposure to mixed-race people. The population is exploding. According to the U.S. Census, in 2010, 9 million people identified as 2 or more races. In 2020, 33.8 million, an increase of 275%. Professor Leilani Nishime, author of Undercover Asian about mixed-race Asian Americans in media, confirms Gong's experience. She found, even with prominent multiracial celebrities like Keanu Reeves, Chrissy Teigen, and Bruno Mars, people in the U.S. have a hard time recognizing and understanding mixed Asians. She says it's difficult for Americans to accept the roots of systemic racism, how many places the U.S. took over. Bruno Mars is Nishime's prime example.
We should actually be pretty familiar, like be able to recognize him because he's Filipino and Puerto Rican and his folks lived in Hawaii, right? All 3 of those places were colonized by the US at the last part of the 1800s. But we don't think about ourselves as a colonizing country. We don't have that history, we don't have that memory, and so it's more difficult for us to recognize folks who are mixed race Asian.
That brings us back to Sound Transit. The public art Louie Gong has been working on for the last 10 years has finally come to life in Bellevue.
Well, the design itself is a mix of Coast Salish design and Chinese paper cut. And I think the result is really cool. It's something that people haven't seen before. And it's at the same time both of those things, but also neither one.
The art that now adorns the walls of the new light rail station is wholly dedicated to the mixed race experience.
I'm pretty excited about people of mixed heritage or anybody that can connect with the idea of intersectionality, stepping into the station and then pow, this giant dragon is presented to you that I'm not quite sure what it is, and you want to ask, like, what is it? Just like you might respond to a person of mixed heritage.
As public transit connects the region, Gong hopes his public art will connect people. For Facing Race, Sharon Yu, King 5 News.